Welcome back, everyone. Wade Boggs fan here with another video. It is Thursday night. Hope everyone is having a good week. One quick reminder that there is 3 days left to enter my 250 subscriber contest. I believe I have 14 entries up to this point, so there's still some time for you to get a video, or if you don't do videos, a comment on my subscriber video in the comments section there to enter the contest. So things are going good so far. Really enjoying all the submissions. So today's topic of the video is the history of baseball on the back of cards. And I'm guilty of this as well, and I'm sure the majority of you, when you're busting packs, when you're looking through your collection, you're going through and looking at the front of the cards and the player and the design, and most likely you're only turning the card over to see if there's a serial number on the back, whether it's a short print, whatever. But I think most of us are a little derelict in checking out the back of the baseball cards. And there's some interesting historical stuff. A lot of it is stats. Now, not every card is going to have some interesting tidbit about the player or the game or whatever. I did some research, and for the most part, at least in terms of modern cards, the flagship Topps product may have, maybe if you're lucky, a one line, one or two lines, one sentence or something like that of just a quick factoid about their statistics or something like that. And then the rest is just their historical statistics. And in some cases, especially if we're talking about autos or relic cards or stuff like that, on the back it pretty much says, hey, you have an authentic autograph or authentic piece of jersey. So not every card has some information on the back. Typically, as you go more into the vintage, that was more of a feature that the card companies, and particularly Topps, spend a good deal of time putting together with interesting notes. And you can learn a lot about the player and the history of baseball by checking out the backs of baseball cards, especially even for some of the new products. Now, I'm going to show here some of the 2020 Topps archives. Gypsy Queen, those two tend to have some interesting narrative background history on the player, even for modern cards. Not so much Allen and Ginter. They have that old style statistics where everything's written out and things like that, but it's just statistics. So I just went through my collection, just started rumbling through cards, and found some interesting information on some of the back of the cards that I'd like to share with you, and to give you a sense of some of the things that you may be missing. And the final card, I have a bit of a trivia challenge for you, because it's going to make you think and maybe do some Google search or whatever to find out the answer, because I didn't know, and I'm not 100% sure I'm right, but I think I am. So we'll see how good you guys do with the last card I'm going to show, and see if you have the right answer in the comments. So I'm going to turn the camera around and let's go check out some history of baseball on the back of cards. All right, like I said, I just went through some of my cards, flipped them over, started reading some of the backs, and just picked out a few that I thought were fairly interesting, and hopefully you may think so. If not, again, it's something that you can check out to learn more about the game and in the particular player, especially if you're a team collector, player collector, what have you, to just learn about facts of the game. And it may even prompt you to look up more information about a particular player. The first one here is from 2020 Archives. Randy Johnson. It's the one insert of the Sports Extra, sort of like the traded. And I'm just going to read it here quickly. Randy's acquisition from Montreal on May 25th, 1989, altered the course of the Seattle franchise. He was 25 and wild with a 4.69 career ERA when he arrived, but over the next decade, he would help the long-struggling Mariners to 2 postseason berths with his 130-74 record and 2,162 strikeouts. So, I don't know, just a little background there of Randy's history, how he turned things around once he went to the Mariners and off to a Hall of Fame career. Here's another future Hall of Famer, Miguel Cabrera. Again, just happened to be from that same insert set, but what's nice is it gives, again, good background information here. Miguel was already a 4-time National League All-Star at the age of 24 when the Marlins dealt him to Detroit on December 4th, 2007. His best years were ahead, as it turned out. A dozen seasons later, he's won an AL pennant, a Triple Crown, 2 MVP awards, 4 batting titles, and 5 of his 7 Silver Sluggers for the Tigers. So again, just a little bit more narrative than you would find on, say, the back of a card, maybe just looking at statistics. Gives a little bit more context to Cabrera's background. Here's another one here. Again, I just happened to just grab some 2020 archives. Here's the 1955 design of Larry Doby. Now, I know one fact about Larry Doby, and it's on here, but I learned something new about Larry Doby. So I'll show you what the back of this card says. Doby was a veteran of the Negro Leagues and the U.S. Navy. I didn't know about he was in the U.S. Navy before debuting as the first African-American American leaguer at 23. I knew he was the first African-American player in the National League. Obviously, in the American League, Jackie Robinson was the first, and he was in the American League. So Larry Doby was the first American League African-American player, and he came on board in 23, winning a World Series the next year at 24, then earning selection to the MLB All-Star Game each of the next 7 seasons. And here is the one fact I didn't know about Larry. The 2-time AL home run champ later played in Japan and became the second African-American manager in the majors. So I wasn't aware that Larry Doby was, one, played in Japan, and 2, was a manager in the big leagues. So, again, some interesting facts about Larry Doby, and rather than tossing him aside and say, oh, no, it's not a Mike Trout or whatever, just take the time to look at especially some of the legendary players, especially in these new sets. Don't just discount them and say, I don't know who Larry Doby is. He was in terms of the history of baseball, a very important person. Here's another one. This is the 74 design of the 2020 archives of Duke Snider of the Brooklyn Dodgers. And now this one doesn't really have a whole lot of information, but there's a little cartoon, and it says, had 11 World Series home runs, the most by any National League player. And I believe Mickey Mantle holds the American League an all-time record, I want to say with 18 home runs in World Series play. But in the National League, I'm assuming since this just came out in 2020, that's not an old stat. And Duke Snider actually has the most home runs by a National League player in World Series history. And of course, I had to show off a Boggs card. So I picked, again, looking at archives, Gypsy Queen. They always have some little nice factoids. Here's one of Boggs. During Boggs' first 9 full seasons in Boston, he reached base 2,760 times, whether through a hit, a walk, or hit by pitch. an amazing 494 more times than anyone else in baseball during those 9 years. Almost 500 times more on base than anyone else in baseball during those 9 years. So amazing on base percentage for Boggs in his prime. And again, just some interesting information there. Just a couple more here. Another good set to know about, especially some obscure players, but had a historical significance on the game, are the Upper Deck SP Legendary Cuts. And this is from 2006. And this is for a player named Ken Williams. And I, don't know who Ken Williams is, but Williams had a memorable 1922 season with the Browns. On April 22nd, he became the first American League player ever to hit 3 home runs in a single game, and ended up pacing the league with 37 long balls and 155 RBIs. That year, he also became the first player in Major League history to have at least 30 home runs, 30 steals, and a 300 average in the same campaign. So, we're talking about, Acuna and, 40-40 club and how many players now. I guess it's more common today. But I know when, Jose Canseco, I think was he may have been a 40-40. But I know at one point, hey, reaching 30-30 and maybe not even hitting at least 300 was an accomplishment. Maybe even into the early 90s, 2000s and stuff like that. But nevertheless, Ken Williams was the first 30-30 300 player in Major League history. 3 more here. Carl Yastrzemski. And I don't think I showed this off, or I may have showed this card off, but I don't know if I commented on the back. But here's a fact I didn't know about Carl Yastrzemski. I always knew him as an outfielder for the Red Sox. Okay. But here it says, at first a heavy-hitting middle infielder, Yaz soon switched to the outfield, where he succeeded Ted Williams in Beantown in 1961. 23 seasons there yielded 3,419 hits, 452 homers, 3 batting titles, and a Triple Crown. So it doesn't mention, and I haven't looked back at some of his stats, whether he was a middle infielder at any time in the major league or whether that was during his minor league career before he made it to the majors, and then once he made it to the majors, they switched him to the outfield. But I didn't realize that Yastrzemski played, at least initially, as a middle infielder. So again, new bits of information here. Now here's my 76 Schmidt that's all creased and stuff like that. What I found with some 76 cards is that the information on the back isn't necessarily of that player, but a general baseball fact. And for this one, instead of something on Mike Schmidt, Roger Connor hit the first Grand Slammer in National League history, September 10th, 1881. So, hey, if anything, turn this into a bar game, or impress your friends and stuff like that to say, hey, I bet you can't name the first person to hit a Grand Slam in National League history. It would be Roger Connor, and I bet you someone would have to quickly Google to try to find that answer. So, again, interesting tidbits on the back of baseball cards. Last one here, and here is where I'm going to open it up in the comments for your guesses as to who this other player is. So it's a Ted Williams Stadium Club from 2016. Okay, now here's the back of this Ted Williams card. Count Williams's on-base streak of 84 games in 1949 and his career on-base percentage of 482, career on-base percentage of 482 as records that may never be broken. I know there were a couple seasons where Barry Bonds had just, his on-base percentage was through the roof. I mean, he was getting intentionally walked and the hits and home runs and all that stuff. But Ted Williams, for his career nearly reached base half the time. But anyway, here's the trivia. The 6-time batting champ combined his life on the bags with the power to be one of 2 players with 500 home runs in fewer than 8,000 at-bats. So he had 521 home runs in 7,000, no, that's why it's not focusing here, there, 7,706 career at-bats. So the question is, who is the other player with at least 500 home runs in fewer than 8,000 at-bats? I didn't know who it was, and I had to Google search, and I think I know the answer. But I'd love to know what you think the answer is in the comments, and would like to know your responses there. So those are all the examples that I have. Hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about baseball and the men who play the game from a historical standpoint and individual standpoint. So when you have a moment and you're looking through your cards, and you're amazed at the photo quality, this is a gorgeous card, don't forget to turn it over and check out the back. So that's all I have for you this time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.